Aloha, I'm Carolyn Tanaka, and welcome to the House of Representatives segment of Live at the Legislature. We are going into the final week of the 2018 session, and the lawmakers have tackled some tough issues, and they've taken on some significant and bold actions to address some of the key issues facing the state: housing, homelessness, and grease lightning action on funding for Kauai. With us this morning is House Majority Leader Della Al-Biladi. She is a member of the House leadership team, along with Speaker Scott Saiki and Representatives Sylvia Luke, Mark Nakashima, and Dee Morikawa. Good morning, Representative. We had a bit of a shaky start there, but tell us, let's talk about some of the key bills that are moving through this week.
Carolyn, we have had a very productive session, and so my three themes today are productive, responsive, and forward-looking. We have our big $570 million affordable housing package that's going to build out over 25,000 affordable rental units by 2030. We have our huge initiative for homeless services and to address those issues. That's over $30 million, $50 million. Altogether, we're spending and investing quite a lot to fund those two issues, housing and homelessness, that were identified as top priorities. Mm-hmm. In addition to those bills, we have a slew of bills that we introduced related to civil rights. We have the state Title IX bill for women. We have numerous health and human services bills. We also have the HST amendment, just a number of bills addressing longstanding issues. I can't forget, we also have our pesticide bills as well as our oxybenzone ban bill.
Well, I want to go back to the affordable housing bill and the homeless legislation. For the affordable housing bill, tell us, what are the more significant or unique items in this bill?
So there's a $200 million cash infusion into the Rental Housing Trust Fund to generate approximately 1,600 affordable rental units for families at or below 80% AMI. We also have GET exemptions for construction of affordable rental units for families at or below 140% AMI. So what we're really doing is we identified various areas on the housing spectrum in which to invest monies to ensure that development is going along all lines.
We've done this before. What makes this one different?
I think this is very different because, one, we clearly put in a huge cash infusion. Also, we were looking at other ways. It wasn't just those large bills. We also have bills for Front Street in Maui. We have tucked into our big bill, we have a $50,000 study to look at housing for those who are disabled and have higher functional needs. Mm-hmm. So we're really, I think we were wise and smart in how we deployed our resources, looking at the whole spectrum of affordable housing.
And on the homeless front?
Same thing, Carolyn. We put in $30 million for Ohana zones, giving the governor flexibility to identify what will work for their counties. But kind of not as well reported was the monies that we put in for the homeless emergency assessment pilot project, where we know that our emergency departments are ground zero for homeless and when the sweeps occur. We put in money for medical respite, which is another pilot project with the private sectors to find housing for those who are some of our most medically difficult. Once they go through the ER, where do they go? And that's another big piece of our homeless problem. So I think we were very smart in deploying various resources. One other program I would mention is the law enforcement assisted diversion. So again, it's dealing with the homeless population rather than putting them into jail, finding them the appropriate programs, whether it's substance abuse, mental health, counselors, finding them different ways to address the homeless problems in innovative ways.
Well, I think there is no doubt that the lawmakers definitely took on the tough issues, and you met your goal of starting to address key issues that are affecting our state. What do you say to the voters out there who say, that's your job, what's the big deal? Why you never do them sooner?
Well, I think what folks have to understand about the legislative process is that we come back every year. They're for short sessions, 60 legislative days, but we are tackling huge problems, complex problems that require us to do study and to look at what the proper solutions are. So I mentioned earlier that we were a forward-looking legislature. We have a number of big bills that also passed. Some people might have been disappointed with the paid family leave. Well, we took it very far this year, and now the step that we're taking is going to be to do a market analysis of what really will work for Hawaii. Another big area that some people might be disappointed in, but quite frankly, I'm not, is that we know cesspools are going to be a big problem. Again, we have a cesspool working group that's going to look at what are the appropriate solutions, both is there better technology and innovation, and then what's going to work for the various islands. We know that upcountry Maui is very different from Waimanalo or Kaneohe on the island of Oahu. One final kind of other forward-looking thing is our carbon sequestration working group. We know that carbon offsets, carbon taxes are going to be something that we need to look at. Again, we made that working group a permanent working group because it's going to take us a while to identify the long-term solutions for these complex problems.
I think one of the good examples of you cannot do everything in a session is the way the House and the Senate took on the Death with Dignity bill. You didn't pass it the first time, but
we came back, and you know that's one where we were, I think, very productive. It's been a long-standing issue. We studied it over the interim. We took in a lot of stakeholder input. We looked at best practices across the nation, and I believe that we have the very best bill in the nation at the moment. And so that's how we have been both productive, responsive, and forward-looking.
I want to we've got about a minute and 2 seconds left. I want a quick thing on the constitutional amendment for education funding. Critics have said that this is just a tax increase. Can you explain what the Con-Am is?
I think the Con-Am is the opportunity for the public to weigh in on whether or not we should add a surcharge on investment real property. That's a fundamental question that, that we've struggled with here in the legislature, and it takes on many permutations. But that fundamental question of whether or not investment properties should be taxed for education is something that should be before the voters.
And so it will be up for the voters to decide.
It will be for the voters to decide.
Thank you. Thank you, Della, for being with us this morning. And thank you for being with us here. Unfortunately for me, because I got to get up early, we will be back next week for Live at the Legislature. Aloha.